I don't know if you can open up your YouTube. I don't know if you want to open up YouTube maybe like on your phone, but just put it on mute and you can actually see if you go on the on my channel, you can see it and see if there's any comments. But I don't know if you can open up your YouTube. Let me. I don't know if you want to open up YouTube maybe like on your phone, but just put it on mute and you can. Okay, so let me pause this because what's going to happen is, all right, we have someone who's watching already. So what's going to happen is when people ask questions, I want to be able to see that on YouTube because sometimes they can send like a question on YouTube.
Remind me, what's your page name?
It's Create Luxury Living. Let me let Dave know, and I'll let Steve, okay. Okay, so what I know, one of the guys who's watching, he had asked me, he's interested in buying a property. So let's go ahead and get started.
I don't know if you saw right before I popped on, I gave you some answers to the questions.
Okay, perfect. Hi everyone, thank you again for joining our YouTube channel, Create Luxury Living. I have today with us Mark. Mark's a loan officer with Movement Mortgage. He is a phenomenal loan officer. I know personally, out of personal experience, he's helped me close a lot of deals. So he's a great resource. The thing is, I'm going to let Mark do a lot of the explanation as to what he does. But the biggest piece here is I have, forgive me, folks, but I have a situation. I had a situation where I had a deal where I needed someone to help me. And how I met Mark was actually funny. Was I had actually sent a deal over to another loan officer, and we were having issues with getting the deal closed. And I got to meet Mark, and Mark came in, and he practically just became a problem solver for me. So, for those of you who are looking to buy your first home, I know I've had some conversations with some folks that have asked me some questions about buying their first home. This is going to be a great resource for you. He's going to be somebody you can definitely utilize because he can help you, with getting qualified and also kind of give you some tips and tidbits that you need to know as a person who's a first-time home buyer who's never bought a property before, especially in today's market, because we're hearing about how the rates are high, we're hearing about how the housing market is going to crash, but you guys need to hear this from the experts, from people who do this every day for a living, how and exactly what they do and what they anticipate things to look like, and then most importantly, how you guys can get qualified. Because again, the key thing is to make sure you guys can get qualified, and when you're able to get qualified, now you can go back and make sure that now you can work with a guy like Mark and get yourself into your first home. So Mark, without further ado, without me talking too much, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. Thank you again for joining.
Absolutely, man. Well, home ownership is something that is super personal for me. I realized really early on in my life that we as Americans take a lot of things for granted. And that's coming to you from an immigrant myself. I guess a little backstory. I was born in Russia. My family decided to pick up their lives and move themselves and their kids halfway across the world. We were the last ones remaining in Russia. Everyone in the extended family, they're all a little bit better off than us. They got themselves out of there either in the late 70s, in the 80s. I was born in 92. We moved to right outside, or really in Boston in 1999. And so I remember it was 6 days from my 7th birthday, and I thought my parents did it to spite me. I was so upset that I wasn't going to have my birthday party with my friends. And my grandpa tells me every time we talk, he's like, remember you called me? You're like, I'm never going to learn the stupid language. And everything is just like, I was so down on the world. And then I realized that, oh my God, I live in the greatest country on earth where our opportunities are absolutely endless. But there is a force out there and it is holding us all down. And it's something that Ryan Stewman came up with that's called the force of average. And I think that hits us every single day. And it's on us to really figure out what are those forces of average in our lives and really do something about it. Because at the end of the day, there is no production, there are no results without that consistent action and having a goal and a mission that you're working towards. And so I got into this industry in really the most random of ways. I was graduating school. I went to school for economics and international affairs. I had a number of different career options that I was exploring. I was very, very interested in going into counterintelligence and actually becoming a counter spy. I went through a bunch of interviews. I interviewed with the State Department, with the FBI counter. And really, because I was born in Russia, I was not going to be able to do it contra Russia. And so I was actually going to have to do either the Ukraine or the Baltics. And one of my blessings in life is having self-awareness. And I knew not only do I not follow orders very well, I've got a big old mouth that's really hard to keep shut. And that is a line of work and a skill set that do not match. And so I got a job lobbying actually straight out of college. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get into lobbying and going into the international affairs route. And something inside of me was just like, no, like this isn't you. There is no mission. There is no passion. I think I probably couldn't articulate it at the time, but it felt like I was dying. And so I went on a search and I went on my school board and I sent out my interview to like 60 or my resume to like 60 different places. And so I just started getting calls. And I remember I was driving on the highway and I got a random call and it was a recruiter from Maryland. And back then I literally could not have put Maryland on a map. Like I knew it's like near DC and I know DC is like over there, but like I'd never been in the area. I was like, well, I mean, it's mortgage. I don't really know what a mortgage is, but I think everybody's got one. My parents have one and they need a house. And so let's go check it out. And so I got into this company where really the way that they operate is they take kids straight out of college and or take them out of the why can't I think of the enterprises and the local like bartenders that are super personable that have kind of a business sense behind them. And they put you into a 2-week training. And at the end of the 2 weeks, you have to go in, and to be a loan officer, you have to be licensed, not only federally, but then each state. And so at the end of the 2 weeks, you had to take the SAFE test. And if you passed, you moved on to sales training. And if you failed, then you were out. And so luckily, I somehow passed that test. With everything that I now know 8 years later, I don't know if I could pass that same test. Right now, this has been a lifelong dream for me, but my father, he's got a PhD in linguistics, and he's been a Spanish teacher in high school ever since we moved to America. And so I picked up, I think, that language gene from him, and the teaching gene from him. But teaching and our teachers are some of the hardest workers and some of the most underpaid and overlooked professions. And I think the difference between a great teacher and just another teacher, which is what so many of our kids in America have, just another teacher, that difference is so big and so great. And I've seen it firsthand in my life. I was never I was always curious. I was always labeled as the class clown and the ADHD and unable to really pay attention during the class. And what it really was I had no entertainment in the education. And I think that's something that I respect about my dad more than anything is his ability to really bring the entertainment to the kids and actually get them interested in something that a lot of kids are just forced into, taking a second language. And yeah, we'll do Spanish, why not? And so as much as I am super proud of him for that, I'm super proud of him because he finally just put in his retirement. He's got like 2 weeks left, I think, of work.
Mhm.
And then he is fluent in Spanish. Like
Wow.
he can change his accent based on who he's talking to and convince them that he's from their town. And so he is going to be going through a very similar training that I did. And he's going to be going out and taking the safe test. And he's going to become our Spanish speaking guy. And
Wow.
it's something that I've looked forward to for the last 4 years since I moved out here. I had this one dream and I was like, oh my God, like the Hispanic and Latino community is one that is near and dear to my heart because of kind of how my dad raised me. And it's one of the most underserved markets and demographics in our country. And they are, in reality, the biggest home buying demographic. And it is something that, yes, I've wanted to do for business purposes, but it's really my passion to help people. And I think that is a community that brings so much love and joy and just community and just everything that it takes to be a part of that culture is something that I've grown to love. And so I'm so excited to stop finally saying we don't have a Spanish speaking guy for you. And I am so excited to go out and actually tell all of our partners and everybody that we haven't been able to help, hey, dad is here, we're ready to go.
I love it. It's amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that, Mark. I want to kind of break down a little bit about what you said, and if it's possible, maybe break it into small parts.
Yeah, of
The
course.
first thing is, you did say something that's near and dear to my heart when you talked about, the pride that you had in your dad and him coming over and starting pretty much starting a new career. And then as he's gotten to his retirement age, started a new career as well. So that's very big and that shows character. And again, it reflects on you as a person too. So I guess my
Appreciate
question
that.
is, you know, you talked about teachers, and it seems that you have a very strong passion for teachers. Is I know some teachers, and I know people who are in the teaching industry right now. Is there anything that you guys have as far as programs that can help serve some of these teachers to allow
Yeah.
them to potentially buy their first home?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a ton of different programs and options out there. We have like 3 or 4 in-house ourselves. But a majority of the time for the teachers that are listening, if you were to go out and really look and just Google down payment assistance for teachers and or home buying programs for teachers, you'll also, in a way, be I don't want to say it that way, but I guess there's no other way to say it. You're being grouped into the heroes, right? And so
Okay.
we in the industry, and especially here in the DFW, you are heroes. You're literally teaching our children and raising our future generations. And so much of our world today and tomorrow revolves on you being the absolute best. And I think having a sense of accomplishment for having home ownership is a feeling that everybody needs, but nobody more than a teacher. Again, I know you guys have hard days and you have to deal with terrible kids like I was back then. And there are a number of different options for you to help make home ownership a reality. The program that I love the most and trust the most, and it's one that I've been a part of and working with since 2018, it goes by the acronym TSHAC. It's TSAHC. It stands for Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation. They have a number of different options, but they really get broken down into two separate options. Number one, there are options where you can get the down payment assistance as a grant. And so it's a gift. And so there's no repayment of any kind attached to it. The second option is a forgivable loan, and it's forgiven 1/36th a month, or 130, yeah. So it's forgiven basically over 36 months. So every month, 1/36th of it gets forgiven. And at the end of 3 years, you can go refinance, you can go sell your property, and you don't need to pay back any of the down payment assistance funds. Because of that nature of it, it's at a little bit of a lower interest rate. And so with the lower interest rate, you're going to have a lower monthly payment. You'll pay less in interest in those first 3 years. And so you'll be able to get out of it at the end of the 36 months. With the grant, it gives you more flexibility because we know, given kind of the way that first-time homebuyer markets develop, a lot of the time you're going to have refinance opportunities before the end of 36 months, which is crazy. And I guess we may want to talk about that, Casey, because a lot of people have a lot of different misconceptions on refinancing. But I favor the grant because I look at it for what it is. This is a rental of that money. This is a rental of money to help you get an asset. And the first home that somebody gets, it is by far and away the most important purchase that they get right. There is a difference between buying a house and being house broke. And I don't wish being house broke on anybody. That is the last thing that you want. I can tell you that. Now, some people need to go broke to really get the fire and the energy and the passion for what they want to do and to never be broke again. But I never want any of my clients calling me saying, I can't afford my monthly payment. And so we do so much on really making sure that we're focusing on our client's budget, not working towards what's the maximum that somebody can afford. And I think the ability for down payment assistance programs like TSHAC to be able to give you and be able to allow you to keep as much money that you have and worked and saved and I mean, worked hard to save. I want you to keep as much of that money after I'm done with you and after we get the house. Because again, yes, you've got the monthly payment and we're going to make sure that we attain that monthly affordability for you. But I don't want you to not have money before your first payment is made. And I don't want you running up all your credit card bills just to furnish your house. So many first-time home buyers, the thrill of the purchase it's a thrill, right? And it's something that I, again, recommend for everybody to take advantage of, because others in other countries, like you can't buy a house with 3% down, 3.5% down, get down payment assistance in basically any other country in the world. And this asset is one that is in very, very high demand and very, very short and limited supply. And so what that leads to is the consistent appreciation of your property. And that appreciation, I can tell you from firsthand experience, and I guess I kind of should just share my firsthand experience with not necessarily me buying my house, because that is huge and that's important. And I am super grateful for the ability for me to be standing and sitting on my couch and going to bed in my bed in my home. But at the end of the day, really where all of this passion comes from is knowing that I am that immigrant story. And if I can do it and my family can do it, that means anybody can do it. And so my parents, they literally used down payment assistance, and they moved us out of kind of it wasn't necessarily inner city. They had gotten themselves a little bit on their feet, but they moved us from one town into one of the best surrounding towns of Boston. And I came into fourth grade and I was 2.5 years behind. And I had no idea what was going on in school. We were one week I'm doing addition and multiplication or subtraction, and I get into fourth grade, and these guys are doing like long multiplication and long division, and I'm like, what is going on? And so at the end of that, really, I got caught up. And the reason why my parents were able to set me up, and the reason why I'm here where I am today and doing what I'm doing today, is that first house that they were able to get with down payment assistance. And as soon as I was graduating high school, that town, it was way too expensive for my parents. We were only there for the school system. And so they sold their house, and this was 2010. And the Northeast, and we can talk about why, but the Northeast was much more impacted by the 2008 collapse in real estate prices.
Mhm.
And even with that having happened, and everything really looking pretty gloomy up there in 2010, they walked away with 60,000,
Wow.
and they got
That's
that
this is
money into
this is 2008.
their next home.
Okay.
And today, it's not just that 23 years later, they're homeowners. It's 23 years later, they're living comfortably. I mean, they're by no means rich, but they have what we consider a voluntary mortgage. And that's
Comfortable life.
where it doesn't make sense for you to pay off your house, because there are additional assets and vehicles and avenues that you need to take advantage of and actually make yours before you pay off your house. And
Okay.
so I guess that really, in a way, brings my story full circle.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Mark. I really appreciate that. As we have a few people who are watching, and somebody had actually said something to me, and I wanted to point that out, which is you mentioned the Latino community. That sounds to be, you guys have a passion for them to helping. What about the other communities? I have individuals from other communities as well. Do you guys have other programs as
And
well that can serve them?
so that is a great question, and I'm glad you pointed that out. The Latino community is special to me, and really kind of in my mind, because I know my dad is retiring in 2 weeks. But listen, I'm an immigrant, and I don't discriminate. Like, I love everybody. I think part of, in a way, the challenge going on in the world today is trying to really isolate ourselves and really kind of split us up into these different groups. And I think what immigrants bring to the table is the love and the appreciation for how we are different. There are so many ways that we are the same, but our little intricacies that we have and that we pick up from whatever country we're from, we're bringing that to the table to America. And that is why America is the greatest country on earth. It is because we are bringing our history, our good, our bad, the lessons that we learned, and we're trying to bring it and make this country the greatest country on earth. And so we have a lot of different initiatives. We were one of the first companies that really, actually, I guess let me take a step back. There are so many different options that people have for financing, just like they have so many different options for a real estate agent and for a financial advisor and for a life insurance person, and pick whatever vehicle you're in. Your company and your mission and really why you exist, that is the most important thing that you can get right. Mm-hmm. And so Movement Mortgage, as you can see in my shirt, we're not just a mortgage company, we're also a t-shirt company. We take our gear very seriously, but our mission statement is we exist to love and value people and be a movement of change. And that's where the name Movement Mortgage comes from. And so we look at all Americans and we say, how can we pour love into you? And what can we do to value you? And the Hispanic community is one that has been underserved and overlooked for far too long. And so we have an initiative called Comunidad, and that is where not just the loan officer, but also the loan processor and the loan underwriter, they're all Spanish speakers. And the disclosures, they're in Spanish. And so you have somebody that can meet you and talk to you in your native language and help you take advantage and make homeownership a reality for you and your family. And you can be that first one. And being that first one, that is something that I think everybody that hasn't experienced homeownership in previous generations, I think that's something that has to go on your goal list, right? For you to be that first homeowner, because you can create what my parents created, and you can help your kids succeed in a country where they have more opportunities than you had in your country.
Exactly.
We have been working on and trying to articulate a Black American initiative. And it's something that's really hard in today's day and age. And it's something that I guess really up until this show, I don't know that I've actually talked about, but African American homeownership rates have actually gone down every single year. And that is entirely unacceptable. And I think that is entirely incumbent on us real estate professionals and mortgage professionals and financial professionals to actually go out and make that difference. And so we as a company, we believe in that ourselves. And so we have come out with an initiative called Grab the Key. And it's really where we go out and we try to pour into the communities that need it. And that is one community that unfortunately is not taking advantage of homeownership. And there's so much there. I think a lot of it comes down to education. I think a lot of it comes down to just not seeing those opportunities around you. And that's actually the number one reason why we as a mortgage company actually own our own schools. We, in 2018, said our school system is entirely it is not up to our standards. And we as a company, we're headquartered in the Carolinas. We're like right between North and South Carolina. And I had no idea about this, but Charlotte was voted a couple of years back as, if you are born in poverty, it is the least likely city in America where you can actually escape poverty. Or put the other way, it is it being a Black American and or just any group that is below poverty level, it is most likely that you remain at that poverty level. And that is just completely unacceptable. And so we are on our third school. We've just opened up. It's a charter school. And so we get paid. So education, both higher education and charter schools, it is a business, right? And as a business, it fills a need. And that need is actually incentivized by governments. And so charter schools, they get about, I think it's somewhere between 30 and 50 cents on the dollar to what a public school gets. And so we have decided that if we want to create a change, it all starts with our kids. So our charter schools have some of the most amazing kids and teachers in them. And as a company, we have unbelievable leadership. And a lot of this really is just straight from our CEO, Casey Crawford. But I'm thinking back, Casey, I was in Cancun last month for President's Club. And last year, really to the complete surprise of all of the employees, Casey came out and said, our new mission is to build 100 schools in the next 10 years. And the way that we're going to do this is by doing X, Y, and Z. And so we have finished school 3. We're about to break ground in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to have Houston coming in the next 24 months. We're probably going to have one coming to Dallas, I would say, in the next 4 to 5 years, maybe 6. But we are on a mission to love and value people, and we try to live that and make that a reality every single day.
Perfect. And thank you, Mark, for sharing that. We have a question from Anthony Castro. Anthony, thank you very much. He says, in your opinion, would there be another housing dip coming soon, like in 2008 to 2010?
Man, the short answer is no. And I can walk you through and I can nerd out with you about why. But what it comes down to is 2 things. supply and demand, and really the future prognosis. The future prognosis is that in reality, we've seen it in the industry over the last 4 years. Casey, what do you think the average age of a first-time home buyer is?
I believe I'm thinking 28 years old.
It used to be.
Okay.
Right now, it's 32.8 years. So 32 going on 33. In America, let's talk about the rest of the world real quick. We are the biggest country, the most powerful economy, and we are the only G7 country where we have more young people than old people. That is an advantage that America has across the entire world. We're talking, you can add China in there, you can add Russia in there, you can add Iran in there. The reason why I am so confident in America is that in and of itself, there will be no country that can compete with us. Number two, if you have been living under a rock, millennials are no longer the little kids on the block. Now, I guess with that being said, we should kind of define a millennial. A millennial was born between 1986 and 1996, give or take, maybe 97. So I am literally in the exact middle of the young millennials. But millennials have taken over this market, and we as a generation, we are the biggest generation since baby boomers. Right behind us, what are they? The Gen Z, I think I'm a millennial. I know who I am.
Yeah, the Gen Zs, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
They are the second biggest right behind us. And so what we have seen in America is we have had more 33-year-olds every year than the year before. And we have had that for the last 4 years. And when you look at demographics on a nationwide scale, we're actually going to continue to have more 33-year-olds every year than the year before. 33 makes sense, right? That is the house buying age. Why is it the house buying age? You're established in your career. You are building a family. You are getting married. You are having kids. And now you need to own your real estate because you realize, oh my God, I wasn't the 27-year-old or the 25-year-old like my grandparents if they did own a house. I'm 33 and I need it now. Those 33-year-olds, I'm 30. I turned 30 last year. I was in high school in between 2006 and 2010. We grew up seeing our family and our friends and our neighbors lose their businesses and lose their jobs and lose their homes. And we got terrified by it. I fully admit it. I was scared of even the thought of being able to purchase it myself. But it's time for us now. And we are the ones that are driving this market. And so what is the prognosis over these next 3 to 5 years? Our home values are going to keep going up. What we're really experiencing right now is a cost of living increase across the board. And that is not a good thing, but that is the reality. And that is the reality that happens when we underbuild for 10 years, actually longer than that, because we've really underbuilt since 2007. That is what happens when we have over 1 million short in inventory for our current demand. And we aren't building more, we're actually building less. And so what is going to continue happening is something that we've experienced to a degree that really is unhealthy and unsustainable. And so are we going to have the 20 to 25? I can pull up the Federal Reserve website. It's actually, I don't know if you know, Casey, the Fed here in Dallas is responsible for all of the aggregation of all of the data. And so last I checked, Dallas market is 28% year over year appreciation. 28%. If we keep that up, nobody will be able to afford a home.
That's correct. And that was going to lead me to my question, which is, I'm seeing a 14% inflation and I'm seeing a 28% appreciation on real estate. At some point, it has to balance out. So I'm hearing some people that are saying, hey, why don't we wait till the housing market cools down slightly and then we make a purchase? So
Let
from
me
your
tell you, it already has.
okay. So from your experience as a loan officer, if somebody was to, if someone who is interested in buying a home now and they say, hey, I want to buy my first home, let me use a guy who I know personally. He's 25 years old. He wants to buy his first home. He's planning to use some portion of his home to rent out to his friends as far as rooms, but that's not how he intends to qualify. Would you advise somebody like that to wait to say, hey, you know what, it might benefit you to wait maybe 2 to 3 months to qualify for a property? Or would you say, hey, you know what, this might be the best time to go ahead and take action and buy the house now?
Man, there is no better time than today. And it's not me being the sales guy. Like if you can, in a way, I hope if you're listening, you're not in the DFW and you're in another state. So I have
He's in the
no
Dallas market.
incentive. So I have no incentive to lie to you. You need to do it, and you need to do it now. And the sooner you do it, the more impactful it will be on your life. I told you that first house you get is the most important. And that strategy of house hacking, that's what we call it, that is one of the best strategies that anybody can do. And there's a couple things that I would point out. Number one, for you, the individual, you should 100% consider it. Is it the right time for you? I don't know. We need to figure that out. We can talk more about why some people choose to buy now or choose to buy later. But what this really comes down to is opportunity cost. And what is the opportunity cost, or what opportunity cost are we actually measuring or diagnosing? We're talking about shelter, talking about the cost that it will take you to pay to cover yourself and your roof and to really not be homeless, right?
Sure.
And here's the reality of the situation. Casey, you gave a 14% number. Now we can talk a lot more about that with inflation. But here's the reality. Our rent prices are going up faster and higher than our home values, and our monthly payments and affordability for homes is going up. And so we're left with a really tough decision. Do we continue renting, and do we go $300, $400, $500, $600 more a month than we're paying for the same place? Maybe a comparable place, maybe like a little bit of an upgrade? Or do we actually go out and secure our future? And that's what you're doing when you actually open up your eyes and really peel back the curtain and realize you're paying a mortgage whether you know it or not. You're either paying somebody else's for them, and you're either helping them build wealth and legacy, or you're doing it for yourself, and you're doing it for your family, and you're doing it for the future generations of you. And again, you becoming that first person and not listening to all of the doom and gloom and the negativity that we all get bombarded with from the news every single day, you're going to be better for it. And so why do we hear these things on the news? What is the news? If nothing else, it is there to get and advertise and get clicks. And we are all humans, right? We're all attracted to the clickbait. As much as we don't want to click it, they've gotten really good at this ad copy and at these headlines, and they know what works and what doesn't work. Negativity sells, and negativity breeds more negativity. And negativity creates the fear that we are now seeing in today's market. And it's this fear that is actually giving home buyers a greater chance for them to buy a house than they've had in the last 24 months. I have families that were last June, it was like right after Memorial Day, we had 52 pre-approved buyers that were shopping. I don't know if you know this or not, your brain can only keep track of really 50 people at a time. And I was like, man, I haven't talked to this person in forever. I haven't talked to this person in forever. Like, where are they at? And I started making those phone calls. And at the end of those phone calls, I had 36 people that were over 10 offers rejected and had given up on their home search.
Wow.
Those people, they gave up on their home search with 2.8, 3%, 3.125, 3.25. Rates right now, they're firmly in a range of 5.25 to 5.75. We're right in the middle of that range. If you were to look back on the history of America, and again, home ownership in America is one of the most American rights that you have. And it's not really a right, it's a privilege, but it's something that it is a privilege that, again, I would not have had if my parents didn't make the decisions that they made and I was living in Russia. And so I think it's incumbent on all of us to really develop that level of curiosity of why are so many people homeowners? What is it that they have and see that I don't see? And when you really start to think about it, you realize $1,500 a month, which is basically the average rent here in Dallas. You do that for 5 years, that's $90,000. That's $90,000 that you paid that you have absolutely nothing to show for. And I guess let me give you another personal example. I moved to the DFW in, when was it? It was April of 2018. And again, I'm in real estate. And so I am aware, both because of what I do and what I've seen, the power that home ownership holds. And I was going through a breakup with my ex, and it was time to move out. And I started looking around, and here in the DFW, we are blessed, y'all. We have more affordable housing options than a lot of places in this country. And I was looking around and I was comparing rent of $1,200 to, oh my God, I can buy a condo. And I was able to secure a condo in North Dallas for $133,000 in 2019.
Wow. Okay.
Today, I've now actually, as of last summer, bought my home here in Louisville, and that condo has been rented out this year. It's been fully furnished. It's actually on the market right now, both for sale and buy. And so if you're looking to get qualified for that, by all means, call me, text me. I won't be able to do the mortgage on it because I own the property, and that would be kind of crossing the ethical boundaries, but I can connect you with an amazing loan officer that'll take care of you. But today that home is worth anywhere between 200 and 210,000.
Wow. That's amazing because I have the same thing. I bought my first duplex in 2018. I bought it for 147. Right? I got a down payment assistance. So I didn't actually, at closing, I got $1,500 cash back at closing. And right now, I did an appraisal on that condo, on the duplex, and it's currently appraised for $267,000. The tax assessed value on it is $238, and the appraisal is almost $270. So I can literally sell it if I wanted to and walk away with, God knows how much. It's just unbelievable.
But what are you going to do with it, man?
That's the point. That's the reason why in my head it's like
inflationary times.
Yeah.
Real estate is king. And so absolutely. I think too many of us, especially millennials, we think a recession is a housing collapse. News alert, the last housing crash was what led to a recession. But if you actually look at over the history of America, we average a recession every 10 years. We're overdue for one. And if you actually look at it, I think it's out of the last 6 recessions, 5 of them had home values go up. Now, why is that? It is because, and in a way, what is going on in today's economy and the housing market is we need to get our rates up because we know a recession is coming.
Sure.
And so what happens when a recession is happening? In a way, it can be a vicious cycle and it can be really dangerous and scary. What is the reality is that it's totally normal. And it's what happens when we don't have completely free markets that take care of the problems before they develop into bigger problems. But what do we do when we hit a recession? We drop our rates, we stimulate our economy. We start putting more investment into housing and into our communities. And all of a sudden, real estate prices go up and they go up more. And in inflationary times, hard assets, those are the assets that are going to outperform the stock market and most markets in general.
Exactly. And Mark, thank you so much for sharing that. I actually have a home builder who is listening right now. He had sent me a message, so I know he's happy to hear that because, home builders are expecting the housing market to crash, but hearing this from you just says that, hey, his business is safe and it's an opportunity for him to continue to excel in this. Mark, I had a question. I want to just make sure that, for those individuals, again, remember folks, he can't help you to buy his condo that he's selling, but he can definitely help you if you guys are looking, especially for those of you who've never bought a property before. I like how he talks about this Texas Down Payment Assistance Program. I actually could testify to that. My girlfriend just bought her own first home. We used Mark. Thank you, Mark. And believe it or not, at closing, we got back about $5,400 at closing. I was so surprised. I couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah, she took a picture of the check just to say, and again, guys, I have no reason to sell this. Mark's not giving me anything for this. I'm just being very honest as to what happened with me. So we got $5,400 back at closing. We did take a slightly higher rate. We went with about a 5.75 rate, but our payment was low enough that it allows us to continue to do what we want to do. So again, folks, I want you guys to not feel apprehensive about this housing market, but feel free to reach out to folks like Mark, simply because this information, as far as the Texas Down Payment Assistance information, is not available to everybody. It is available to everybody, but it's not just information that everybody knows. And I don't know why it's not something that we are heavily pushing. It could be because it's a grant, so the government wants to make sure that the budget is not overextended. But folks, for those of you who have never bought a home before, use this. The credit requirements are not high. I mean, I can testify to that because I know people who have qualified. I've sent so many clients to Mark. I've had people with a 620 credit score that have qualified for these programs. And when you talk to Mark, he can even help you if you might have some credit challenges as to how to get you to that credit point where you can now be able to close on your deals. So with that said, I want to give Mark some of his time back. If it's okay with you, Mark, if we had to reach you today, I'm going to also edit this live. So for those of you who want to get a chance to watch this later,
actually, I want to leave you guys with something.
Okay.
Am I able to share my screen?
Yeah, sure. You can share your screen if that's okay.
It looks like you need to.
Let me see if I can give you permission because I want you to share your information. I want you to be able to share your information with. There we go. Yeah, I think you could share it now. I want you to be able to share your information with whoever is watching. I want people to be able to have an opportunity to reach you or anybody in your team if they have questions. Are you able to share it now?
I'm working up a report, but really what I should do is just grab one of my older ones. Second, I should have had this pulled up. Here, I'm gonna do this one, even though it's not necessarily the one that I was going to show. So what I'm gonna show for you is extremely relevant to the entire conversation we've been having, and specifically on first-time home buyers and the
Okay.
power of home ownership.
Sure.
Now, in this particular scenario that I'm showing you, the rates are a little bit outdated. It's going to be a little bit different in today's day. But what I am looking at right now and about to share with you is what we call a, are you seeing, which screen are you seeing? I'm sorry.
We see your information. Can you zoom in a little so we can see your contact information?
You're saying
There we
this
go.
one?
Yes, yes, perfect.
So this is a report that I created for one of my clients, Adriana. And it came together through a very similar conversation that we're having of, does it make sense to buy a home, right? And Adriana, she is right now in a situation where she is living with family. And so she actually has a 0 payment today. And she's considering doing 5% down, not doing down payment assistance, but doing conventional financing, which is 5% down. And we're very focused on her monthly payment. And what I wanted to show her is, in a way, Adriana is, I'm not going to go into the exact situation, but she's considering getting a rental, and it'll be somewhere around $2,000 a month. And so if I was to go ahead and plug in here, $2,000 a month, and rents, they're going up at more than 3% per year, but let's just say it's 3%. Oh, I forgot we had this in here. I should have just worked up a scenario for you guys earlier. Hang on one second. What am I seeing here? So let's just look at this together. So option one is $2,000 a month rent. You're looking at $2,300 to $2,400 a month right now for a 300K house. To get there, it's going to be around 20 to 25 grand to make it happen if you don't take advantage of down payment assistance. But let's talk about what a mortgage is. Mortgage is a forced savings account. That's what we call it. A part of your payment goes towards principal, which means it's going towards paying off your loan. And so when you're comparing a $2,000 a month rent to a $2,300 to $2,400 monthly payment on your mortgage, you're not really comparing $2,000 to $2,300 or $2,400. What you're really looking at is, what is the cost of your shelter, right? If it's $2,000 a month for rent, that is your cost, because it's 100% interest and it's going towards your landlord or the management company that owns the building. When you are paying a mortgage, you're paying yourself. And so the true cost of homeownership is actually a little bit less than what your monthly payment is. Now, we had talked about this money adds up, right? And this money adds up very, very quickly. And so if you're renting at $2,000 a month to start and rents go up at just 3% per year, you're going to have paid $74,000 over the next 3 years. On a mortgage, you're only going to have paid down in between 12 and 13 grand. And that seems small. It's not that you paid 13 grand, you paid a lot more than that, but you have paid down your balance by just this little. And you're going to say, wait, if I'm paying $2,300 a month times 36 months, that's 82 grand. That's more than 74. You're a liar. Well, here's what this house is actually doing for you. This house is building your wealth, and it is creating, what is going on here? 2000. Oh.
But I think I understand what you're saying, because what you're saying is you are now putting that money towards your actual your own home versus putting that money towards somebody else's home.
Ah,
Is that
here we go.
correct?
I found what it was. That it was just showing the money that she had saved already.
Sure.
And so in a way that was a good example. And that was 50,000 that she has saved up, right?
Mhm.
And so in a way, what are we looking at right now? We're looking at the difference of you in a matter of 5 years, which the older you get, the more you realize that is just a blink of an eye. But you're comparing 0 to a lot. And now this is 5 years, and 5 years is great. But we talked about that down payment assistance, and we talked about how it has options where it's forgiven over 36 months.
Mm-hmm.
And the analysis and the numbers at 36 months, it's not much lower. Look at this. This is the difference literally between you being able to be the one to start and create generational wealth for you and your family. Sorry, I'm getting a call. Or it's the difference of you continuing to do what other generations have done before you. And so I think it's incumbent on all of us to be the one. And so if you are a first-time home buyer yourself, especially if you haven't had a homeowner in your life, I want to talk to you. I want to help you. I want to make this a reality for you. It's not about me doing the loan. I honestly, I could care less about doing your loan. What I care about is creating an impact and leaving an impact and really helping encourage the young professionals and the millennials that I am very much a part of. I want to help you take advantage of this because again, I want you to think about it. If your parents were born in a different country and they didn't move you to America, you wouldn't have the opportunity you have today.
That was so powerful. Thank you, Mark. So what would be a good way for them, anybody to reach you if they had any questions or they want to go ahead and move forward with getting their information? What's
Absolutely. The best place to go is really my digital business card. I've got a couple of different URLs. You can go to meetmarkkoretsky.com. You can go to mark10k.com. That's mark10k.com. That'll really give you access to all of me. You'll have the social medias. You'll have the homeowner tips. You'll have the mortgage calculators that you can look at and run these numbers yourself. And it'll just give you a way for you to kind of easy, frictionless get in touch with me. Again, I'm an open book, y'all, and I'm here to serve.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. Again, folks, that is mark10k.com. Please reach out to him, ask him questions. Like I said, it doesn't hurt to have somebody like this in your corner because it allows you to know the things that you need to know to make a decision. At the end of the day, this is one of the biggest purchases anybody would ever make. It's also one of the most important purchases you ever make. And it's one purchase you can't afford to make blindly. So please reach out to the experts. In this case, Mark is an expert that can help you guys. Just reach out to him, ask him questions. He's an open book. His job is to help you, serve you guys, and help you guys achieve that homeownership dream. And I'm very appreciative that you got to do this for me today, Mark. Thank you very much.
Happy to.
Thank you very much
Casey.
again. Thank you for your time again. So, folks, don't forget to reach out to Mark on mark10k.com. Take care, folks, and thanks again for being on my channel. Peace.